Hey guys, it's time for part 4 in my obscure window manager project. I've already covered FVWM, JWM, Openbox. Tonight's window manager is going to be PekWM. So I've already done the first 3, FVWM, JWM, Openbox. Number 4 in the list, I'm going in order as they appear in my login manager here in the LightDM login manager, PekWM. Interesting enough, when I try to get information on PekWM and I do a Google search for PekWM, the first result is the PekWM.org webpage, their official webpage. I can't connect to that webpage right now, so apparently their website is down, so that may tell you a little something about how development is going with PekWM these days. Probably it's not under development anymore. Luckily, the Arch Wiki has some pretty good information on PekWM. The Pek Window Manager is written by, I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce that guy's name. The code is based on the AEWM++ window manager, but it has evolved enough that it no longer resembles AEWM++ at all. It also has an expanded feature set including window grouping, not unlike Ion 3, PWM, or Fluxbox, auto properties, Xenorama, key grabber that supports keychains, and much more. Now, I actually have used PekWM many years in the past, so I do know a little bit about it, and look and feel it is very similar to Openbox and Fluxbox, JWM, which I recently reviewed. They're all very similar as far as they have this Openbox style right-click menu on the desktop, and that's about it. So, anyway, let's get this party started. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here to PekWM. So choose PekWM from the login manager, type in my password, and this is PekWM. Not unlike Openbox. Basically, when you first install PekWM, you have a black screen or a brown screen, some solid color background, and nothing else. You do have a right-click menu. Now, this right-click menu, full disclosure, it is populated with some stuff, but you may or may not have these programs installed by default. For example, I have an Office category here that includes the entire LibreOffice suite. I haven't installed this on my system, so these are just dead links. If I click on LibreOffice Writer, nothing's going to open because I didn't install any of these programs. These were hard-coded. These items in the menu are hard-coded in PekWM's default config file. So we need to create our own menu system that actually includes our actual desktop applications that I have installed on this system. And to do that, I'm going to use Menu Maker. Menu Maker was a program I also used to create my Openbox menu when I reviewed Openbox. I also used Menu Maker to create my menu in JWM, Joe's Window Manager. So I won't go over how to install Menu Maker. Again, it's not really in the repos, in anybody's repos. You just have to go find Menu Maker on the internet, and you're going to have to build it from source, but it's not very difficult at all, to be honest. It's a very small program. And then in a terminal, you need to type, after you have Menu Maker installed, mmaker, the letter M, maker, so 2 M's, A-C-E-R, and then the window manager that you're wanting to create, Menu Maker to create a menu for. So, in our case, PekWM. You run that command. And now we need to restart PekWM, so right-click on the menu, go to Restart. And nothing happened. This is the same menu. Well, I should have actually read the terminal output here. It refuses to override an existing file on our system. Apparently, in my home folder, I have a hidden directory called .pekwm, and in that directory, I have a file called menu. I either need to delete that file to create our new menu, or use the -F flag when I run the Menu Maker command. So I'll use the -F flag. I'm assuming that stands for force, basically to force Menu Maker to do what I'm trying to get it to do. All right, I'm going to restart PekWM now. Alright, and now this looks like the programs I actually have installed on my system. Yeah, this is our new menu, and these are the actual programs that are installed on this particular distro we're running today. This is the Manjaro i3 edition that I installed 11 other window managers in addition to i3 on. I call this group of 12 minimalist window managers, I call it the Obscure Window Manager Project. So now that we have a menu, let's see what else we need to do to get a proper desktop going here in PekWM. The first thing we need, of course, is a wallpaper, and we need some kind of panel or dock. Now, because I've already done Openbox, I've already got the nitrogen program installed on this system. So nitrogen space dash dash restore should give us wallpaper. Yeah. What I need to do is I need to configure PekWM to always run that command when it launches, when it auto starts. So I don't have to do this manually every time. But I'll get to that in a minute. The other thing we need, of course, is a panel. I have the Tint 2 panel because that's what I used in Openbox. Now, I will warn you, the Tint 2 panel is kind of quirky in PekWM. I played around a little bit of it off camera before I started this video, trying to get Tint 2 to work with PekWM. It's a little finicky. And I remember it from years past. I always had a problem getting the two panels that I use the most on these minimalist window managers, Tint 2 and back in the day, BM panel or BM panel 2. BM panel 2 is no longer being developed. But both of those particular programs, those panels, PekWM, it didn't play nicely with. So I'm just going to go ahead and save you the trouble of trying to configure Tint 2 to work with PekWM. You may just want to pick something else other than Tint 2. And that's what I'm going to do today rather than try to fight PekWM trying to get Tint 2 to work with it. So I'm going to sudo pacman -S, so sudo pacman -S to install a program, and then the name of the program. I'm going to install LXPanel. LXPanel is our panel in the LXDE desktop environment. It doesn't have hardly any dependencies. Actually, it doesn't have any dependencies, so it's a great panel actually to install on these minimal window managers like Openbox or PekWM. Now that we have it installed, you know what, I'm just going to launch it from the terminal here, make sure it's functioning. Yeah, and now we have a panel. This is LXPanel here at the bottom. Full disclosure on LXPanel, this is actually not the default look of LXPanel when you first install it. I have made some slight modifications to it. For example, LXPanel has an LXDE menu installed on it by default, you know, on the panel. I've configured it a little bit before, so I removed the menu system that it had because I didn't want to use the LXDE menu. Those of you that want to, though, you're perfectly fine doing that. But I wanted, you know, some consistency with the menu system. I want this menu and whatever menu I put in the panel to be the same. So I'll probably create some kind of launcher down here that actually launches the right-click menu in PekWM. So it's the same menu. So you're, you know, not finding the same program in two different places and two different menus. Now the problem with Nitrogen and LXPanel is, again, we need these programs to launch on startup every time we log in to PekWM. Otherwise, we're going to have to manually launch them every time we log into PekWM. So what I need to do is I'm going to go here, I'm going to find my file manager, the PCman FM file manager. In our home directory, we have a hidden directory called PekWM. That is where all the configuration files for PekWM live. So I'm going to open that directory, and right here, config. So actually, I'm not going to open the config file just yet. This is the one I want to edit. Start. This is the startup script for PekWM. By default, it contains nothing. These are just commented out lines basically telling you, hey, this is the startup script for PekWM, but there's nothing in it. So we need to create it. We need to write this script. So the first thing we need, wallpaper. Nitrogen -- restore. And then space ampersand. You always have to end these commands with an amper symbol. Then we need to launch the panel. LXPanel ampersand again. anything else we want to launch? You know what? We really should launch our compositor. Matter of fact, I'll launch it before I launch the panel. So Compton and the ampersand symbol. And then anything else we want to launch on startup? You know what? Since I did it for Joe's Window Manager and FVM and Openbox, I think, for consistency, I'm going to also launch the Rofi launcher on startup. When I first log into PekWM, it makes sense to have that because I'm already at a keyboard when I log in, so it makes sense to have a keyboard-driven launcher launch up. So my hands are already on the keyboard. I just type something and go. Anyway, save this. So we save that startup file. Make sure it has any good permissions. Say execute. It's not executable. I'm not sure if it needs to be, but I'm going to go ahead and set it to be an executable file. Then I'm going to exit PekWM, and then we're just going to log straight back into it. And when I log back into it, Rofi launches, the nitrogen wallpaper launches, LX panel launches, and we also asked the Compton compositor to start. And does it look like I have any shadowing effects or anything on our menus? It's hard to tell, but I think we do have some drop shadowing. One way to tell is for me to simply open up a terminal. Kill all Compton. Compton, no process was found. So Compton actually wasn't running. I may not have installed Compton. I need to check on that. Alright, so let's get back into our hidden directory, the .pekWm directory in our home folder. Again, this is where all our configuration files live for PekWM. Alright, so we've already discussed the startup script. Basically, you just put, a handful of programs, whatever you need to launch at startup. This is going to be things like wallpaper, panel or dock, your compositor, such as Compton. If you want to launch Conky on startup, you can do that. Matter of fact, I should have added Conky to it. Any kind of automatic, like systray stuff that you want launched. You would add that, like your network manager applets and stuff like that. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and add Conky to my auto start program. Let me go ahead and save this. I'm just going to have it run the same Conky that I had in the Openbox session I created. So let me exit out of PekWM. Log back in. Make sure Conky launches on startup. Okay, and it does. So we have our Conky running in the background. Of course, all these shortcuts are not correct. These shortcuts are hard-coded into Conky. These are the shortcuts for the Openbox window manager session that I set up. So I would actually have to create a separate Conky with all the shortcuts for PekWM. But, that's a lot of work. I'm not going to do that on this video. But I will leave this Conky running because it's a nice Conky. Anyway, let's go back in that .pekWm directory. And we have a directory called themes. It is empty. So we do not have any other themes other than this default orange theme here. Which is not a bad looking theme, but it doesn't really fit with my my dark window theme, GTK theme here. So we need to do something about that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up Firefox, and I went to this website here, box-look.org, box-look.org. And basically this contains a bunch of themes for Openbox, Fluxbox, and those minimalist box kind of window managers, including PekWM. I'm going to click PekWM themes here. And I'm just going to pick a couple of them to download to play around with. I think I'm going to pick maybe this Land and Sky PekWM one here that's kind of colorful, has some big font. Or this Minda one here. It's like a really dark theme. I kind of like that. Yeah, I'm going to grab both of those just to give me two of them to play around with. Alright, so I grabbed a couple of themes here. So what I did, in our .pekWm folder, we have a themes folder, which is empty by default. I filled it with those themes I pulled down. One of them was called Minda. The other one was called the Western Sky 768. You know what? I'm just going to go with the Minda one. So I'm going to open up our config. This is the config file, the main config file for PekWM. There's really nothing in it. But this line right here, theme equals, and then the path to some theme, I need to have that path lead to that Minda theme that I downloaded. So I changed the path here to /home/dt, which is the name of my home directory, and then .pekWM/themes/Minda. And that should give us our new theme. Let me right click on the menu, go to the PekWM menu, and hit restart. And now, there we go. We have our new, instead of the orange window borders, we have this very black with green highlighting window border. Now we have our right click menu. Yeah, really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. I like that. So I'm going to go with that one. Looking at some of the other configuration files in the PekWM directory, we have a history file. Let's see. It says PCManFM. That is a command I ran in the run command prompt, the one that was included by default in your right-click menu when you first launch PekWM. So I'm assuming that's what the history is saving. We have keys. I'm assuming this is going to be our key binding. Let me open this up with the Genie text editor. And it's always a good idea to go through these default config files and read them. Even if you don't plan on editing them or using a lot of these key bindings, you should familiarize yourself with these window managers. See exactly all the functionality that they include out of the box. Ooh, I messed that up. I actually ended up minimizing the virtual machine there. Some of the key bindings for PekWM also work on Openbox on my host machine, so kind of mess that up. Anyway, moving on. The key bindings, so like mod 1 tab, which is alt tab, goes to the next frame. Let's see, alt tab. It's your basically program switcher, which is pretty standard in most window managers and desktop environments. It's usually alt tab or the super key tab. And mod 1 shift tab, previous frame. Let's see, mod 1, which is alt shift tab. And it's going in the reverse direction. Okay, that's interesting. Control mod 1, which is alt. And then left, right, up, down does our workspaces. So let me minimize this and show you the workspaces. So Control Alt and then the arrow keys. If I go right, that didn't work. Did I not read that correctly? I didn't read that correctly. It's Control Alt Shift and the arrow keys. Man, that's a pretty crazy key binding there. Yeah, I probably won't be using that one much. But the good thing about key bindings is you can change these to more appropriate key bindings. I would probably change a lot of these, especially if I was going to use all of these minimalist window managers. I would make sure that they share a lot of the same key bindings. Like I would have the same key binding that opens a terminal in all 12 of them. That way I don't remember, well, in Openbox I type this to open a terminal, and in PekWM I type this to open a terminal. You know, I would probably make these commands have some kind of uniformity. Also, in our PekWM directory, we have a file called menu, which I'm assuming configures our menu, our right-click menu. So, all of this, show you the right-click menu. I actually have to have a desktop to click on. This menu here is what this menu file here. This is the config for the menu, and this configuration file is very easy to edit, very easy to follow along. Of course, at the top you have root menu, and then submenu equals development. So I have a development submenu here. If I click on that, you see all the programs in that development submenu. And here they are: Genie, Idle, Python, Python 2.7. And the next category, submenu equals editors. And then all the programs in it are right here. And so forth and so on. Now, the great thing about PekWM, just like the great thing about Openbox and Joe's Window Manager, JWM, is it does support dynamic menus. What Openbox calls pipe menus, dynamic menus. Basically, we, instead of having like hard-coded programs or files in these menus, we can actually write a shell script or a Python script and have instead these submenus run a script, and then it pipes that information into a dynamically created menu for us. And just Googling around a little bit for PekWM pipe menus, I found this forum post on the merga-linux.com website. I'm not sure what that is, but just Google PEK pipes, all one word, PEK pipes. And the very first post is a guy that includes a few different pipe menus he's written for PekWM. So, and then just click download. You don't even have to be a member of the forum to download it. I've already downloaded them. Let me show you how to include them in your menu. So I downloaded them to my downloads folder. It's called PekPipes-0.3. Just going to Control-C to copy that. And then I'm going to go back to the .PekWM folder. And I'm just going to paste that right here. You know what? I'm going to change the name of this folder from PekPipes-0.3. We're just going to shorten it to PekPipes. In case I have to type some of this in a terminal later, it just makes the path a little bit easier to type. And in this PekPipes folder, here are the shell scripts for our dynamic menus. Then we just need to go back to our menu configuration file and place the path to these shell scripts somewhere in this menu file. So the first one I added right here, submenu equals places. So I'm going to create a submenu called places. And then the location of that dynamic menu script, which is called pekplaces.sh. Then I also added a time and date dynamic menu right here. Submenu equals time and date, entry, and then the path of that time and date shell script. Now that I've got those in the menu and I've saved the menu config file, right click on the desktop, restart PekWM. And now I have this places dynamic menu. Basically, this is like my PCMan FM bookmarks and everything. So if I click on, home, should open up PCMan FM at home or documents. None of that looks like it's working. I bet that shell script, the pekplaces.shell.sh, is using some other file manager other than PCMan FM. So let me make sure that shell script actually works with PCMan FM. So I'm going to go back to the PekPipes menu, PekPlaces. I'm going to open this up in Genie. And yeah, you see right here, file manager equals Thunar. I'm going to comment that out. I'm just going to put a pound symbol in front of that line to comment that out. Basically, that pound symbol says ignore this line. And then right here, this line, that file manager equals PCMan FM, I'm going to uncomment that. So I'm going to delete the pound symbol in front of it. Save that. And I don't even need to restart PekWM for this. This should just automatically run correctly now. So when I go to the places pipe menu and choose home, it should, or documents is what I chose there, should just launch PCMan FM, which it does. So I might have to clean up, some of these pipe menus to work correctly for the programs that I'm using. But if you know a little shell scripting or a little Python scripting, it's not hard to create your own dynamic menus in Openbox, JWM, PekWM. And that time and date dynamic menu that I created, let's check that out. So I click on that, and it has time and date. It also has a calendar here. Now the calendar, the formatting's not quite right, is because the font I'm using is not a monospaced font in this menu. If you were using a monospaced font, I'm sure all the dates and everything in the calendar would line up perfectly. And that's really all I'm going to do with PekWM today. By far the least amount of time I've spent on a window manager here in the Obscure Window Manager project. And the main reason for that is most of the programs and most of the stuff you need to do to get PekWM working, I've already done in Openbox. I've already done in Joe's Window Manager. I've already done in FVWM. For example, I already had all the programs to set the wallpaper. I already had Conky installed, Compton Compositor. I did have the Tint 2 panel installed, but the Tint 2 panel really doesn't work well with PekWM, so I did install the LX panel. But really, it's pretty straightforward to get PekWM squared away out of the box. Just go to box-look.org, that website, pick a few PekWM themes to download. Create your auto start file. Make sure you have a wallpaper set, a panel set. If you want to have Conky run, great. If you want a compositor to run, great. But really, after, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes of playing around, you can have a pretty usable PekWM session installed on your machine. The one downside to PekWM is, again, I don't think it's really under development anymore. It's kind of a dead project. I don't know when the last version of it was released. The fact that I can't look that up on the PekWM.org website kind of scares me. So, apparently somebody forgot to pay their hosting. So, but if you're comfortable with Openbox, Fluxbox, JWM, you would be very comfortable with PekWM. So give it a try, guys. Peace.